For the longest time, I thought that people changed when they became more disciplined, that one day everything would click, that one day you just wake up, you just had enough, and you just gonna become that new person. But more I watched people and more I watched myself, I realized that's not the truth. Discipline was never the problem to begin with. What was the problem was tolerance. People don't get stuck because they don't want more. People do want more. People have ambitions, people want better lives. But what happens is that you tolerate something that's beneath that standard, and therefore you keep going back into betraying yourself because the brain works on pattern recognition. The more times you say something and you betray yourself, that becomes your basic baseline. Your brain doesn't know the difference, it likes familiarity. So every single time you betray yourself or you make it, oh, it's fine this time, your brain is basically adapting to that environment. So brain rather would be in a painful but familiar situation than it trying to change something and going into unfamiliar situation. And that's why people tend to stay in toxic relationship. People tend to go back to their routines where you fall off the gym, you don't eat healthy, right? It's not only within the business, but also it shows up in your life, because what you tolerate is something your body will keep going back into. And that's why we need to be able to set those standards that will not let us go beneath that. You will refuse to accept anything below that. Example with healthy eating. If you say, I am not somebody who likes to put junk into my body, what happens is your body and your brain will stop accepting that. Next time you want to have something bad, most likely your body will reject it anyways. You will not even think about putting that into your body because that's not the identity that you identify yourself with. The standard is not your mood, it's not your behavioral patterns, it's something that becomes a non-negotiable. And that's why standards are important, because your brain stops debating with yourself, you stop asking questions, you stop going back and forth with yourself, because that's the standard and brain already knows that, and you will not do anything that would go against it. It shows up in every aspect of your life, in your business decisions, in your ambitions, in the way you communicate with people, in the way you carry yourself, in the way you dress, in the way you behave, in the way your relationships work, and your basic environment as well. How clean your room is. Is there a lot of clutter? Is it always clean? And I think that's where also aspect of people tolerating luxury also comes in, because people think luxury is just tied to a price tag or a product, but that's not the case. What happens is when people stop accepting what's common and start only accepting luxury things, that becomes their baseline. They do not want to be just accepted in the society because, oh, that's too much, oh, that's not something that you should be doing. It's the same thing as your standards in your food, in your hygiene, in your physical aspects, right? It just shows up as a materialistic thing. Once you stop accepting lower than what your life needs to look like, that's when the change is going to happen. And it's not about becoming harsh towards yourself, it's just having an honest conversation. Maybe your standards are low, maybe you're okay with that. And if that's what you accept, your life will reflect that. So maybe the question that you should be asking yourself is not what you want more. What have you been calling normal now that the future self will not tolerate? And once you, instead of adding things, start removing things from your life, the things that you do not accept and do not tolerate, that's the only time when you can move forward.